Hello, Keith Wainauski here, your host for today's Insurance Answers podcast. Here at Insurance Answers, we try to provide answers to everyday questions about insurance. And today we're going to be tackling the topic of homeowners insurance and what exactly is covered and what's not covered on a homeowners insurance policy. So take a look at this and follow along with us as we review those coverages together.
Okay, let's discuss the traditional coverages or standard coverages that are usually with all homeowners policies. There's 6 coverages. Let's discuss them briefly as far as what the coverages do. The first one is your dwelling coverage. This coverage here covers the main house itself, the main structure, and anything that might be attached to your house. So that could be if you have a fenced-in backyard, the fence happens to be attached to your house on either side. That could be covered. That would be covered, I should say, under your dwelling coverage. The dwelling figure, by the way, is something that's very, very critical that you and your agent get correct. Because the premium on your homeowner's policy, most of the premium is calculated off this dwelling figure. So you want to make sure that they've got it correct. And basically, how do you know it's correct? Well, we need that figure to be enough where if your house was totally destroyed, let's say by fire or wiped out by a tornado or hurricane, that you've got enough coverage there to rebuild your home with the same material types that it has now. So this figure is critical because the next 3 figures or coverages that we're going to talk about are traditionally simply a percentage of that dwelling figure. So that is a critical figure to make sure you have right. So make sure you take some time to talk it over with your agent or carrier to make sure that you have the proper amount of dwelling coverage. The next coverage is called separate structure or other structures. Many carriers or companies call it other structures or separate structures. Basically, it covers anything not attached to your main home. That could be a separate detached garage. That could be a standalone fence system that you might have on your property. Anything not attached, it could be even a shed out back. All those things would be separate structures. And traditionally, this figure is simply 10% of the dwelling figure. Again, some carriers might have a little bit more. Some carriers might have a little bit less. But traditionally, it's simply just a percentage of this figure that comes standard with all homeowners policies. The next coverage is personal property. This is all your stuff, your clothes, your furniture, your TVs, anything that you'd bring in to your home is covered under personal property coverage. Again, and this usually or traditionally is simply a percentage of your dwelling coverage. If you feel like you need more personal property coverage, that it comes in standard with your policy, again, check with your carrier or your agent to make sure you have enough coverage there. A key facet here under personal property is there is specific limits on certain personal property items that are traditionally not covered, or there's limits on them, I should say, against theft of those items. Things like jewelry and furs and fine arts traditionally have limits on them that aren't covered all the way up to the $375. You want to talk to your agent or carrier in that case. Loss of use coverage is a certain amount or a specific amount of money that's laid aside as far as to pay a homeowner in the event they're not able to live in their home because the home sustained damage. That could be either a total loss of their home or even a partial loss where they could no longer stay there and function normally. This money could be paid out by the carrier to help you be put up somewhere else, whether it's a hotel or even an apartment or home if your home was totally destroyed. This is additional living expense basically to help you live while your home gets fixed. The next coverage, the next 2 coverages kind of go hand in hand. Keeping in mind liability coverage, personal liability specifically, is there to protect your assets. So the more assets that an individual owns or has, the more liability coverage you want to make sure you have. And it just protects you in the event that you are found liable or at fault for damages to someone's body or even their property. And again, guest medical coverage goes hand in hand with it, that if a person comes to visit you, and keep in mind it does say guest medical, this coverage does not apply or cover the actual occupants of the home. But if someone comes to visit you and they get injured while on your property, you've got immediate to medical coverage that can help them as far as in that need. And again, usually this is paid out per person. Some of the other optional coverages, again, these coverages are not available in every state, not available by every carrier. But let's go over these quickly. Again, extended replacement coverage basically just extends that dwelling coverage out. Usually it's a percentage from, I've seen some as low as 15%, going up to as high as 50%, giving you additional dwelling coverage on your home, kind of a cushion there, just to give you additional money there to make sure there's enough money to rebuild your home. Identity theft is something that's, again, the actual theft of your identity is one of the highest or fastest growing risks or losses to individuals throughout America nowadays. So many carriers are offering identity theft coverage on homeowners policies to protect you or give you some kind of protection if your identity does get stolen. Earthquake coverage is pretty self-explanatory. Again, not offered in every state or by every carrier, but it can give you additional coverage on your home if your home is damaged or destroyed by an earthquake. Same with sinkhole coverage, something that's now standard here in our state of Tennessee, but now gives people as far as additional coverage if your home gets affected or damaged by a sinkhole either forming under or near your home. Floaters are available on your personal property items. I mentioned earlier, as far as your personal property is covered up to specific limits on your policy, but there are certain limits on specific things like jewelry and furs and guns and fine art collections that would not maybe give you enough coverage under your standard homeowners policy. That's where you want to talk to your agent about adding floaters for those specific items. Sewer and drain coverage. Again, if your drain overflows or backs up, again, you want to make sure you have coverage for that as far as if damage occurs to your home because of that. Mold is something, again, may not be covered by all carriers and in all states, but it is something that is available as far as coverage on homeowners policies. Check with your agent and carrier. And lastly, as far as business pursuits, again, many people are now running businesses or have businesses that they run from their home. If you do run business out of your home, the stuff that you utilize for that business is not covered under your homeowner's policy. So you want to make sure that you either get endorsements like this, business pursuit endorsement, that would cover those items, or you get a whole separate commercial insurance policy. The last thing I wanted to discuss quickly with you is the risks or perils that are normally covered under all homeowners policies. Those perils or risks or losses would be losses due to fire. If you have a fire either partially damaged or totally damage your home, that's traditionally a standard or a covered risk. The next thing is wind or hail damage, and that wind is usually a pretty broad definition of wind. It can be things from a tornado, a hurricane, or even straight winds from a large thunderstorm. And lastly, theft is traditionally a covered loss or peril. Notice one thing, again, I get asked oftentimes about water damage. Water damage is usually not covered under any homeowners policies. Many homeowners policies, though, do have specific coverages to specific items of water losses. That's, again, where you want to check with your agent or carrier about what kind of coverages may be available due to water, but traditionally water is not covered. So again, I hope this gives you a great idea of some of the coverages and what those coverages do on your homeowners policies. I highly recommend you sitting down with your agent or your carrier and making sure that you go over these items on your home with them.
That's it. We hope you enjoyed the explanation of what a homeowner's policy is and the coverages that are traditionally found in a homeowner's policy. We highly recommend that you contact your agent or your carrier and go over your coverages specifically for you to make sure you have the appropriate coverages, or if you have additional questions from what you saw in the video today, please make sure you go over that with your agent or even contact us. Again, Keith Wainauski here with Insurance Answers. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast.